I think it's safe to say that change is on my agenda. Change for good. And I embrace that and I enjoy that change. I don't fear it. That's the bit that excites me, is the idea of being able to bring some change. Not overly radical change, but changes that I think need to happen.
Palace officials did not expect the conversation to become one of the most closely watched royal questions of the year. Yet within days, headlines, royal commentators, and social media were all asking versions of the same question. Was Prince William quietly preparing for a future that could dramatically reshape who holds influence behind the walls of Britain's most famous palaces? While no official decree has ever been made public, persistent speculation surrounding succession planning has fueled an extraordinary wave of theories, each more dramatic than the last. The speculation intensified because Britain's royal residences are far more than elegant homes. Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, Clarence House, Balmoral, and Sandringham each represent different layers of royal tradition, constitutional practice, and family history. Decisions involving these estates are rarely simple family matters. They often involve legal advisors, household officials, private secretaries, and centuries of carefully preserved convention. That reality has allowed even the smallest reported changes to spark enormous public curiosity. Royal experts have repeatedly pointed out that every future monarch eventually prepares for responsibilities long before they formally inherit them.
The meeting came sooner than planned. When William came home unexpectedly for the weekend from Eton, Camilla offered to leave, but Charles thought it right that they get it over with. He took her to the flat William had at Clarence House and left them to talk for half an hour. According to Penny Jr., at the end of the conversation, Camilla came out saying, "I need a drink."
Those preparations often remain private, giving commentators plenty of room to speculate about what may be happening behind palace walls. Whenever reports emerge describing confidential meetings involving estate planning or future royal responsibilities, they naturally invite questions that cannot immediately be answered from official sources. Before exploring why these rumors have attracted so much attention, there is one question that deserves to be asked. Hi viewers, if you believed the future king should always protect the monarchy before protecting any individual, would you support that decision? Let everyone know with a simple yes or no in the comments. And if you enjoy thoughtful royal documentaries that separate confirmed facts from palace speculation, please like, subscribe, and share this video, because every interaction helps these conversations reach more people who enjoy following the royal family. At the center of nearly every discussion stands Prince William himself. Over the past several years, his public responsibilities have steadily expanded as Prince of Wales. Constitutional experts have long explained that heirs to the throne gradually become involved in planning for responsibilities they may one day inherit. Those responsibilities extend far beyond public engagements. They include supporting charitable organizations, overseeing the Duchy of Cornwall, working closely with senior palace staff, and becoming increasingly familiar with the complex operation of the monarchy itself. That gradual transition has naturally encouraged royal commentators to ask how William's own vision for the monarchy may differ from previous generations. Supporters often describe him as focused on efficiency, modernization, and long-term stability. Others believe he prefers fewer working royals, clearer responsibilities, and stronger institutional planning. None of those observations automatically suggest conflict, yet they have become fertile ground for speculation whenever new palace stories emerge. Queen Camilla's position has followed a very different path. Her journey into the heart of the monarchy has been one of the most closely scrutinized transformations in modern royal history. Public opinion shifted dramatically over many years, particularly after she became queen following King Charles III's accession. Today, she carries out official duties, represents the crown at numerous engagements, and works alongside the king as one of the monarchy's most visible figures. Even so, discussions surrounding her role continue to generate intense media attention. Royal historians frequently note that queen consorts occupy an important constitutional position, yet their authority differs fundamentally from that of a reigning monarch or the direct line of succession. Those distinctions are rarely discussed during public ceremonies, but they often become central whenever commentators debate questions involving royal households, residences, or succession planning. It is within that constitutional framework that recent rumors found fertile ground. Several newspapers and royal commentators have discussed reports of internal conversations about the future use of royal residences, particularly as the monarchy continues adapting to changing circumstances. None of those reports has confirmed the existence of a secret directive restricting Queen Camilla from palace residences.
Royal protocol and public opinion at the time would have made having Charles next to Camilla at this event impossible, however much Charles in particular might have wanted it. Charles also had to be sensitive to his son's wishes. We know more about this from Prince Harry's memoirs Spare. He later revealed more about his and William's view of Camilla.
Nevertheless, the combination of confidential meetings, limited official comment, and growing public curiosity has encouraged increasingly dramatic interpretations online. Some commentators argue that every future sovereign inevitably develops long-term plans for managing royal households and official residences. Others caution that many viral claims dramatically exaggerate ordinary administrative planning. The truth often becomes difficult to separate from speculation because the royal household rarely comments on internal discussions unless formal announcements are required. That silence has become one of the monarchy's most enduring traditions. Palace officials seldom respond to every rumor circulating across newspapers, television panels, podcasts, or social media. While that approach protects private discussions, it also creates an information vacuum that commentators eagerly attempt to fill. The question then becomes far more intriguing than any single headline. If confidential planning is a normal part of preparing for the future, why have so many observers become convinced that something unusually significant is happening now? Part of the answer may lie in timing. King Charles continues balancing the demands of the crown while public attention increasingly shifts toward the next generation. Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, represent the future of the monarchy in the minds of many observers. Every appearance they make, every responsibility they accept, and every reported internal meeting attracts enormous interest because people naturally wonder how today's decisions may shape tomorrow's reign.
It was a very sensitive, difficult time for Camilla because even though, she was the long-term girlfriend, well established with Charles, she often wasn't allowed to sit with him, particularly at big state occasions. And the final straw, by all accounts, came.
Royal correspondents have also observed that palace transitions are rarely announced all at once. Instead, responsibilities gradually evolve through countless meetings that never become public knowledge. Estate managers, constitutional advisors, private secretaries, and senior household officials routinely prepare for possibilities years before changes become visible to the public. That reality has encouraged one persistent theory repeated across royal commentary. What if some of the discussions currently taking place have far less to do with today's monarchy and far more to do with William's future reign? No official evidence confirms that conclusion. Yet neither has the continuing speculation completely disappeared. Instead, each new report seems to revive the same unanswered questions, drawing fresh attention to every quiet palace meeting, every carefully worded statement, and every unexplained adjustment involving royal households. And according to several royal commentators, one particular internal discussion reportedly attracted unusual attention because it involved long-term planning for royal residences. Exactly what was discussed remains unknown. But the growing fascination surrounding those reports would soon give rise to an even larger mystery. One involving confidential property arrangements, constitutional tradition, and a centuries-old system that very few people outside the palace fully understand. That question would become the center of everything that followed. The closer observers looked at Britain's royal residences, the clearer one truth became. Behind every famous palace stands a web of constitutional tradition that is often misunderstood. Buckingham Palace may be the public face of the monarchy. Windsor Castle may symbolize continuity, and Balmoral may carry deep family meaning, but each residence operates under different legal and historical arrangements. That distinction rarely captures headlines. Yet it sits at the center of countless debates about the future of the royal family. Royal historians frequently remind audiences that the monarchy is as much an institution as it is a family. Every residence represents far more than walls and gardens. These properties serve ceremonial, constitutional, administrative, and personal purposes simultaneously. Because of that unique balance, decisions involving their future are rarely made overnight and almost never explained in full to the public. This reality has helped fuel years of speculation.
The interaction feels formal and possibly forced. While we don't know the exact context of this picture, we do know that Camilla had told friends at this point that she was surprised at the unexpected side to William that she had found. "The boy's got a temper," she apparently said. In Robert Lacey's book, Battle of the Brothers, he writes,
Whenever reports emerge describing private meetings involving palace officials, constitutional advisors, or estate managers, commentators naturally begin asking what those discussions could mean. Most of the time, no official explanation follows. The absence of information often allows speculation to grow far beyond the limited facts available. That pattern has become especially noticeable since Prince William assumed the title of Prince of Wales. Verified public records show that his responsibilities have expanded significantly. Alongside representing the Crown at major events, he now oversees the Duchy of Cornwall, one of the country's largest private estates. That role has introduced him to financial planning, estate management, environmental projects, and long-term stewardship. Constitutional experts widely agree that these experiences are intended to prepare an heir for eventual kingship. Because of those responsibilities, many royal commentators have begun discussing how William may eventually shape the monarchy during his own reign. Those discussions cover everything from public engagements to charitable priorities, financial transparency, and the future use of royal properties. None of those conversations prove that major internal changes have already been decided. Instead, they reflect the natural curiosity surrounding an heir who is expected one day to become sovereign. The idea of a modernized monarchy has become one of the most frequently debated themes among royal analysts. Some commentators believe William may continue efforts toward what is often described as a streamlined royal family, focusing official duties on a smaller number of working royals. Others argue that any significant restructuring would require years of careful planning and would unfold gradually rather than through dramatic announcements. That debate has inevitably drawn attention toward Queen Camilla's position within the institution. Verified constitutional practice makes one point clear. A queen consort supports the reigning monarch, but does not possess the constitutional powers of the sovereign. Her public role depends largely upon the king's reign and official responsibilities, rather than an independent constitutional office. Royal historians often explain that while the title carries enormous symbolic importance, the legal framework surrounding succession remains focused upon the direct line of inheritance. It is precisely within that distinction that many newspaper columns and television discussions have found room for interpretation. Some commentators have questioned how future transitions may eventually affect living arrangements, household structures, and official working spaces inside royal residences. Others caution that such discussions often become exaggerated because the royal household rarely comments on internal administrative planning. Without official clarification, theories can quickly evolve into dramatic narratives that spread widely across social media. Several constitutional scholars have noted that succession planning itself is neither unusual nor controversial. Every monarchy prepares quietly for future transitions. Documents are reviewed. Operational procedures are updated. Security arrangements are examined. Estates are maintained decades into the future. Much of that work happens regardless of who currently occupies the throne. Those ordinary administrative realities can easily appear mysterious from the outside. Imagine watching palace vehicles arrive at Windsor over several days while senior advisors enter through private entrances. Without context, such scenes naturally invite speculation. In reality, they may relate to routine planning meetings, restoration projects, ceremonial preparations, or estate management. Yet within hours, online discussions can transform ordinary administrative work into elaborate theories about hidden struggles inside the monarchy. Royal correspondents have often observed this cycle repeating itself. A brief newspaper report leads to social media commentary. Television panels debate possible implications. Headlines become increasingly dramatic. Before long, thousands of viewers believe a major constitutional conflict may be unfolding, even though the available evidence remains limited. That does not necessarily mean every rumor lacks substance. History has repeatedly shown that palace transitions often involve extensive private discussions long before official announcements reach the public. Preparations surrounding coronations, state funerals, accessions, relocations, and constitutional responsibilities are carefully planned well in advance. Those verified practices help explain why stories about confidential meetings continue attracting enormous public interest. Prince William's growing role has naturally intensified that interest. Supporters frequently describe him as someone focused upon long-term planning rather than short-term popularity. Royal commentators point to his environmental initiatives, mental health campaigns, and emphasis on organizational stability as examples of a deliberate leadership style. Critics, meanwhile, sometimes question how those priorities may eventually influence traditional royal structures. Both perspectives remain matters of interpretation rather than established constitutional fact. Queen Camilla's own journey adds another layer to the discussion. Her transformation from one of the monarchy's most controversial figures into queen consort represents one of the most remarkable changes in modern royal history. Public attitudes evolved gradually through years of official engagements, charitable work, and increasing visibility alongside King Charles. Yet commentators continue debating how history will ultimately judge her place within the institution. Those differing opinions help explain why almost every rumor involving palace residences immediately attracts attention. For many observers, the buildings themselves have become symbols rather than simple addresses. Buckingham Palace represents the crown, Windsor symbolizes continuity, Balmoral reflects private family tradition, Sandringham evokes generations of royal Christmas gatherings. Every discussion about these places carries emotional significance far beyond bricks and stone. Perhaps that is why speculation surrounding confidential planning refuses to disappear. When official information remains limited, symbolism often fills the empty space. Every reported meeting becomes meaningful. Every carefully worded palace statement invites interpretation. Every unexplained schedule adjustment encourages another round of analysis. Whether those interpretations prove accurate is often impossible to determine until years later, if ever. Yet one question continues echoing through royal commentary. If the monarchy is quietly preparing for the next chapter of its history, what changes are already being considered behind closed doors, and which widely repeated theories will ultimately prove to be nothing more than fascinating speculation? That unanswered question would soon lead commentators toward another subject that has generated growing discussion in recent years: the delicate balance between protecting centuries of royal tradition and adapting the institution for a modern Britain. For generations, the British monarchy has operated according to an unwritten principle that outsiders rarely see. The most important decisions are often the quietest ones. They are not announced from palace balconies. They do not begin with dramatic speeches. Instead, they develop slowly through years of preparation, consultation, and careful consideration. That reality has led many royal commentators to argue that understanding the monarchy requires paying as much attention to what is left unsaid as to what is officially announced. That observation has become increasingly relevant as attention shifts toward the next generation of royal leadership. Publicly available information confirms that Prince William's responsibilities continue to expand. His engagements have become broader in scope, his international profile has grown, and his role as heir has become increasingly visible. None of those developments are unusual. They follow a pattern established by previous heirs to the throne. Yet commentators continue debating what those gradual changes reveal about the monarchy's long-term direction. Some royal historians believe William represents continuity, with selective modernization. Others suggest he may eventually place greater emphasis on efficiency, environmental stewardship, and public accountability. These are interpretations rather than confirmed plans, but they have shaped much of the discussion surrounding his future reign. At the same time, Queen Camilla remains an important figure within King Charles III's reign. Since becoming Queen Consort, she has carried out a full schedule of official engagements while supporting the King during state visits, commemorations, and charitable work. Those responsibilities are well documented and publicly visible. They also highlight an important constitutional reality. The role of a Queen Consort is closely tied to the reign of the monarch, rather than to the future line of succession. That distinction frequently becomes the subject of media analysis whenever commentators discuss the monarchy's future. Constitutional experts often explain that every transition from one reign to another involves extensive administrative planning. Household structures evolve, official residences adapt to changing needs, staff assignments are reviewed, offices expand or contract depending on the responsibilities of senior members of the royal family. Much of this planning remains confidential, not because it is necessarily controversial, but because institutions of this scale require careful preparation. It is precisely that confidentiality that allows speculation to flourish. Whenever newspapers report on private meetings involving palace advisors, constitutional specialists, or estate officials, social media quickly begins filling the gaps with its own interpretations. Some theories remain cautious and grounded in historical precedent. Others become increasingly dramatic, suggesting sweeping changes without supporting evidence. Royal correspondents regularly caution audiences that internal planning should not automatically be interpreted as proof of conflict. History offers several examples of why patience is often necessary. Many major royal announcements have followed months or even years of preparation before becoming public knowledge. Changes to patronages, household arrangements, official residences, and constitutional responsibilities are frequently developed behind closed doors long before formal statements appear. This does not imply secrecy for its own sake. Rather, it reflects the monarchy's preference for stability over sudden change. That preference has become one of the defining characteristics of the institution. Royal analysts often describe the monarchy as an organization that moves gradually, even when public expectations move quickly. Every decision is measured not only by its immediate consequences, but also by its potential impact on future generations. Because of that long-term perspective, commentators frequently speculate that today's administrative discussions may have implications extending decades into the future. Whether those implications are as dramatic as some headlines suggest remains open to debate. One recurring theme in royal commentary concerns symbolism. Residences such as Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, Balmoral, and Sandringham occupy a unique place in the public imagination. They are more than buildings. They represent continuity, identity, and national history. When commentators discuss who may one day spend more time in one residence or another, audiences often interpret those discussions as symbolic indicators of influence, even when no constitutional change has occurred. Royal historians caution against reading too much into such symbolism. They note that practical considerations often explain decisions that later become surrounded by speculation. Renovations, security requirements, official engagements, family circumstances, and restoration projects can all influence where members of the royal family spend their time. Without full context, ordinary administrative choices can appear far more significant than they actually are. Yet symbolism remains powerful. The royal family has always understood that public perception shapes the institution almost as much as formal constitutional arrangements. A single photograph, a carefully chosen location for an engagement, or the timing of an appearance can generate weeks of discussion among commentators. Some analysts argue that these moments reveal strategic communication. Others believe they simply reflect practical scheduling. In many cases, the public never receives a definitive explanation. This uncertainty has become part of the fascination surrounding the modern monarchy. Unlike elected governments, which often publish detailed policy documents, the royal household traditionally communicates only when necessary. That measured approach leaves considerable room for interpretation. Royal experts frequently remind audiences that silence should not automatically be viewed as confirmation of any particular theory. Even so, the absence of detailed explanations often encourages continued public debate. As William prepares for the responsibilities that lie ahead, one question continues appearing in royal commentary. How does an ancient institution preserve centuries of tradition while remaining relevant to a rapidly changing society? Some observers believe the answer lies in careful modernization. Others argue that the monarchy's greatest strength has always been its consistency. These differing perspectives shape much of the discussion surrounding William's future role and the choices he may eventually face. Queen Camilla's position illustrates the complexity of those debates. Her public duties are firmly established within the current reign, yet commentators acknowledge that every reign inevitably gives way to another. Constitutional practice ensures continuity, but individual roles naturally evolve over time. That process has occurred repeatedly throughout British history, often with far less public attention than today's 24-hour news cycle provides. Modern media has fundamentally changed the pace of royal reporting. Stories that once developed over months can now spread globally within minutes. A single newspaper article may inspire television debates, online discussions, podcasts, and thousands of social media posts before any official statement is issued. By that point, speculation can take on a life of its own, making it increasingly difficult for audiences to distinguish verified information from interpretation. Perhaps that is why royal documentaries continue attracting such large audiences. People are not merely interested in titles or ceremonies. They are drawn to the deeper questions surrounding duty, succession, family relationships, public expectation, and institutional survival. Those themes have defined the monarchy for centuries, and they continue shaping every conversation about its future. As commentators look ahead, one conclusion appears repeatedly across responsible royal analysis. Whatever changes eventually come, they are likely to emerge gradually through constitutional process rather than sudden dramatic upheaval. Yet because so much of that process takes place away from public view, speculation will almost certainly continue. The real mystery may not be whether the monarchy is preparing for the future. History suggests that it always is. The more compelling question is how those preparations will eventually become visible, and what they will reveal about the next chapter of the British Crown. For many royal commentators, the most revealing moments are not the ceremonies watched by millions around the world. They are the quiet transitions that unfold almost unnoticed. A change in responsibilities, an adjustment to a diary of engagements, or a carefully chosen appearance at a historic residence can all become subjects of intense analysis. Whether those moments carry deeper meaning or simply reflect practical considerations is often impossible to know with certainty. Yet they continue to shape public conversation about the future of the monarchy. One theme appears again and again in that discussion: continuity. The British Crown has survived political upheaval, social transformation, world wars, and changing public expectations because each generation has attempted to balance tradition with adaptation. Royal historians frequently argue that this ability to evolve without appearing to abandon its foundations has been one of the institution's greatest strengths. It is also why every transition between generations attracts extraordinary attention. Today, much of that attention naturally focuses on Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales. Their growing visibility is well documented. Official engagements, international visits, charitable initiatives, and public appearances have steadily expanded their role within the royal family. Many constitutional commentators see this as the natural progression of an heir preparing for eventual kingship. Others believe it reflects a broader effort to ensure public confidence in the monarchy's future during a period of significant change. Neither interpretation requires secret plans or hidden conflicts. Instead, they demonstrate how ordinary constitutional development can become surrounded by speculation simply because the institution itself operates with such discretion. That discretion often becomes the foundation upon which media narratives are built. Royal correspondents have observed that even routine administrative developments can quickly generate dramatic headlines. A report describing internal planning may become a story about palace tension. A discussion concerning future responsibilities may be portrayed as evidence of rivalry. While such interpretations attract public interest, experienced royal analysts frequently remind audiences that constitutional preparation and personal conflict are not the same thing. Even so, the fascination persists. Much of it stems from symbolism rather than certainty. Buckingham Palace continues to represent the public face of the monarchy. Windsor Castle reflects continuity across centuries of British history. Balmoral remains closely associated with private family life, while Sandringham carries traditions that have become part of the nation's understanding of the royal family itself. These places are woven into the public imagination so deeply that almost any discussion involving them immediately feels significant. Because of that symbolism, commentators often examine not only official announcements, but also the locations chosen for royal engagements. When senior members of the royal family appear together at particular residences, observers sometimes search for subtle messages. Was the location selected for practical reasons, or was it intended to communicate continuity? Does a particular appearance suggest a changing balance of responsibilities? Or are audiences reading meaning into decisions that were made simply because they best suited the day's schedule? In many cases, there are no definitive answers. Royal experts frequently caution against treating every coincidence as evidence of a larger strategy. At the same time, they acknowledge that symbolism has always played an important role within constitutional monarchy. Public ceremonies, state occasions, balcony appearances, and historic settings are carefully considered because they reinforce continuity between past, present, and future. That understanding helps explain why discussions about succession planning continue to attract so much attention. Verified constitutional practice confirms that planning for future reigns is an ongoing process. Governments prepare for transitions. Palace officials review procedures. Security services coordinate long-term arrangements. Household offices continually adapt to changing responsibilities. These are ordinary aspects of institutional planning, even if the details remain private. Where speculation begins is in the attempt to interpret what those preparations might eventually mean. Some royal commentators believe William's reign could emphasize a more focused group of working royals, reflecting trends already visible during King Charles III's reign. Others argue that constitutional realities will limit how dramatically any monarch can reshape an institution built upon centuries of precedent. Both viewpoints are matters of informed opinion rather than confirmed policy. Queen Camilla's role is often included in these discussions because it illustrates the distinction between constitutional position and public perception. Her official responsibilities are clearly established during the current reign, yet commentators recognize that every queen consort occupies a role unique to the monarch she supports. Future reigns inevitably bring different priorities, different household structures, and different public expectations. That observation reflects historical practice rather than any prediction about specific future arrangements. History itself offers valuable perspective. Every modern accession has required careful adjustment as responsibilities gradually shifted from one generation to the next. Queen Elizabeth II experienced that process during the later years of King George VI's reign. King Charles III prepared for decades as Prince of Wales before becoming monarch. Prince William now finds himself entering a similar period of preparation, though under far greater media scrutiny than many of his predecessors ever faced. That scrutiny changes everything. Today's royal family operates within an environment where every photograph can become global news within minutes. Every public appearance is examined from countless angles. Every statement is compared with previous speeches. Every gesture is analyzed for possible symbolism. While such attention reflects enduring public fascination, it also increases the likelihood that ordinary events will be interpreted as extraordinary developments. Royal historians often describe this as one of the defining challenges facing the modern monarchy. The institution must preserve an element of privacy while serving an intensely curious public. Too much silence encourages speculation. Too much explanation risks undermining the dignity and neutrality upon which constitutional monarchy depends. Finding the balance between those competing expectations has become increasingly difficult in the age of continuous news coverage and social media. Perhaps that is why responsible royal analysis emphasizes patience over sensationalism. Many of the questions dominating headlines today may not receive clear answers for years. Internal planning documents, private discussions, and administrative preparations often remain confidential until long after they have served their purpose. Historians frequently discover the full story only decades later through official archives, memoirs, or released correspondence. Until then, much of what circulates publicly remains exactly what it is described to be: commentary, interpretation, and informed speculation. Yet those discussions continue to serve an important purpose. They invite audiences to think beyond personalities and consider the institution itself. They encourage questions about how centuries-old traditions survive changing generations. They explore the relationship between public symbolism and constitutional reality. Most importantly, they remind viewers that the British monarchy is constantly evolving, even when those changes appear almost invisible from the outside. As commentators increasingly look toward the future, one idea appears with remarkable consistency. Whatever shape the next reign eventually takes, it is unlikely to be defined by one dramatic moment. Instead, it will probably emerge through hundreds of gradual decisions, quiet preparations, and carefully managed transitions that together reveal a broader vision for the monarchy's future. Whether today's most widely discussed theories ultimately prove insightful or simply become another chapter in the long history of royal speculation remains to be seen. But one thing is already certain: the conversation surrounding the future of the British royal family is far from over, and every new development, no matter how ordinary it may appear at first, will continue to be examined through the lens of history, symbolism, and the enduring fascination that surrounds the crown. In the end, perhaps the most enduring lesson from the British monarchy is not that every rumor contains a hidden truth, but that every generation inspires new questions about what comes next. Long before official announcements are made, conversations begin among historians, constitutional scholars, royal correspondents, and millions of people who have followed the royal family for decades. Those conversations rarely produce immediate answers, but they reveal something equally important. The future of the monarchy is constantly being imagined long before it is officially written. Throughout modern history, the royal family has experienced moments when public speculation moved faster than confirmed information. Reports have often circulated for weeks, sometimes months, before the palace issued even a brief statement. In other cases, stories that dominated headlines quietly faded away after later evidence showed that the original assumptions had been overstated or incomplete. That pattern reminds viewers why patience remains one of the most valuable tools when examining royal affairs. The discussion surrounding Prince William's growing role reflects exactly that reality. Verified public information confirms that he continues preparing for the responsibilities that accompany his position as heir to the throne. His charitable work, constitutional responsibilities through the Duchy of Cornwall, international representation, and expanding public profile all demonstrate a gradual transition toward greater leadership. Those developments require no speculation because they are visible to anyone following official royal engagements. What remains uncertain, however, is how William may eventually shape the monarchy after becoming king. That uncertainty has naturally become fertile ground for royal commentators. Some believe his reign could continue the movement toward a smaller, more focused group of working royals. Others argue that preserving stability will remain his highest priority, limiting the pace of institutional change. Neither view represents confirmed policy. Instead, both reflect interpretations based on William's public work, past interviews, and broader discussions among royal experts. Queen Camilla also remains central to those conversations. Her position within the current reign is firmly established and publicly understood. Since becoming Queen Consort, she has carried out official duties alongside King Charles III, while supporting charitable organizations and representing the Crown at significant national events. Historians frequently point out that her journey has been unlike that of any recent royal figure, evolving from years of intense public criticism to eventual acceptance by many members of the public. Even so, commentators acknowledge that every reign eventually transitions into another. That reality does not diminish anyone's current role. Rather, it reflects the constitutional continuity upon which the British monarchy has operated for centuries. As one reign gradually gives way to the next, responsibilities evolve, priorities shift, and new generations naturally assume greater prominence. Perhaps that explains why stories involving royal residences capture such widespread attention. Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, Balmoral, Clarence House, and Sandringham are more than historic buildings. They symbolize different aspects of the monarchy itself. Whenever discussions arise concerning these places, audiences often interpret them as reflections of broader institutional change. Yet constitutional experts consistently remind viewers that practical administration, restoration work, security planning, and official scheduling often explain decisions that later become surrounded by speculation. That distinction matters. Responsible royal analysis depends upon separating verified developments from commentary, interpretation, and rumor. While speculation can offer interesting perspectives, it should never replace established facts. The fascination surrounding the monarchy is powerful enough without inventing conclusions that evidence cannot support. At the same time, it would be equally inaccurate to dismiss every discussion as meaningless gossip. History demonstrates that thoughtful royal commentators sometimes identify important trends long before they become obvious to the wider public. Observers recognized changing public expectations during Queen Elizabeth II's reign. Analysts discussed the modernization of the monarchy years before certain reforms became visible. They also anticipated the growing responsibilities of younger members of the royal family well before official announcements reflected those transitions. The challenge has always been distinguishing careful analysis from dramatic exaggeration. That challenge is greater today than ever before. Social media allows stories to spread globally within minutes. Headlines compete for attention in an increasingly crowded news environment. Short video clips, isolated photographs, and anonymous online claims often circulate without the context needed to evaluate them properly. As a result, audiences are encouraged to consume royal news quickly rather than thoughtfully. Yet the monarchy itself continues moving at its own pace. Its traditions are measured in generations rather than news cycles. Its constitutional responsibilities extend far beyond individual personalities. Its future is shaped through gradual evolution rather than sudden transformation. That contrast explains why so many stories about the royal family seem to exist in two different worlds. One is the world of headlines, speculation, and immediate reaction. The other is the quieter world of constitutional process, institutional continuity, and careful preparation. Understanding both perspectives allows viewers to appreciate why royal documentaries continue attracting such enormous audiences. People are fascinated not simply because of palaces or ceremonies, but because the monarchy represents an ongoing story that connects history, tradition, family, politics, and national identity. Every generation asks similar questions. How will the next monarch lead? Which traditions will remain unchanged? Which customs will adapt to a changing society? And how will future historians interpret the decisions being made today? Those questions have no simple answers. What can be said with confidence is that Prince William's path toward kingship will continue attracting extraordinary public interest. Every major engagement, every constitutional responsibility, and every carefully planned transition will be examined through countless perspectives. Some interpretations will prove remarkably accurate. Others will gradually fade as official information becomes available. The same is true for Queen Camilla's legacy. History will ultimately judge her role not through individual headlines, but through the broader story of King Charles III's reign and the stability of the institution she helped support. Like every queen consort before her, her place within history will be determined over time rather than in the heat of daily commentary. In the end, perhaps the greatest mystery is not hidden inside confidential palace meetings or sealed archives. It lies in the remarkable ability of the British monarchy to remain both deeply familiar and endlessly unpredictable. Every generation believes it understands where the story is heading, only to discover that history often takes a more complex path than anyone anticipated. That is why responsible royal commentary remains so compelling. It invites audiences to examine verified facts, consider informed expert opinions, recognize the role of symbolism, and approach speculation with thoughtful curiosity rather than certainty. If today's discussions eventually become tomorrow's history, one thing is beyond dispute. The next chapter of the British monarchy is already being written. One public engagement, one constitutional duty, and one carefully considered decision at a time. The world will continue watching, historians will continue analyzing, commentators will continue debating, and the fascination surrounding the House of Windsor will almost certainly endure for generations to come. Before this story concludes, thank you for joining this discussion. If you enjoy balanced royal documentaries that separate confirmed developments from media speculation while exploring the history and symbolism behind the headlines, please consider subscribing, liking this video, and sharing it with fellow royal watchers. Your support helps bring thoughtful conversations about the British royal family to a wider audience, and we'd love to hear your perspective in the comments. Until next time, the conversation continues, because with the British monarchy, there is always another chapter waiting to unfold.